Hello and welcome to We Want Picks. This is the only channel dedicated to UFC fight picks and fantasy lineups run by professional fighters and MMA insiders. We are going to break down the entire UFC 265 card. We're going to give you our picks, our bets, our DraftKings plays, our monkey knife fight plays. We're going to give you all of it. Right now, it is myself and Jacob Lyons. Dan Kramer, professional fighter, will be joining us halfway through this stream at some point. He's got some crap going on. He's buying a car. So he's a little tied up at the moment, but he'll hop in a few. So we're just going to jump right into this card. And it's a sneaky good card, Jacob. People are hating on it.
Good card. It's a pay-per-view. It better be good.
Well, people are hating on it, but not me. So let's get going here. First up at UFC 265, we have Johnny Munoz versus Jamey Simmons. Johnny Munoz, 10-1 overall. He is 4-1 in his last 5, coming off of his only loss. Jamey Simmons, 7-3. He is 3-2 in his last 5, also coming off of a loss. This is an interesting fight. These odds, I think this fight is closer than these odds. These odds are super wide. It should be a fun fight, though. Johnny Munoz is a good wrestler. He has solid kickboxing. He uses his kicks really well. He's also a BJJ black belt. He moves from takedown to takedown, so chain wrestling. And he has really good pressure on top. He has scramble skills. And his scramble skills are interesting because he basically is like a second layer of skin. So I'm a wrestler. I've wrestled my whole life. And those kids that ride legs and you can't shake them no matter what, that's sort of Johnny Munoz's scrambling ability. Then we have Jamey Simmons. He's a decent striker. He'll also want to grapple at times, but Munoz is definitely the better wrestler. But Jamey Simmons throws everything with 100% effort, looking for the knockout, looking to put people away. I do think this is a closer fight. Jamey's got some wrestling abilities. He's definitely got power. He goes for the knockout. Johnny Munoz, big-time favorite. Jacob, what are you thinking?
Yeah, this should... Sorry about that. That's a first fight of the night. Got to get ready. Yeah, Munoz should win this fight. He's more technical. He's literally better everywhere. But there's just something. You see Simmons. Are you sure it's not Simmons? Seems like a Simmons.
Probably Simmons.
Yeah, okay. That's fine. But it would not surprise me at all if Jamey Simmons wins this fight. I don't know why he shouldn't win the fight. But if you look at that fight against Giga, he was a huge underdog. And obviously he got knocked out. But he got inside the pocket on Giga, and he attempted to make it dirty. Obviously, Giga's on another level. He wasn't even, he's not even close to Giga's level. But he got inside. He made it dirty. He got in the clinch. If he can do that, maybe get something out of the break, an elbow, a big shot, he's got that knockout power. It would not surprise me if Simmons win this fight. But this should be Johnny Munoz's fight 100% all the way. But I'm not touching either one. I could see people playing Munoz in DraftKings, but I'd kind of be careful because I think Simmons is tougher than people are going to give him credit for.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Simmons, definitely. This is much closer than he's not a 2-1 underdog. He absolutely should not be a 2-1 underdog. I also have Johnny Munoz winning. I think it's a pretty straightforward path. I always talk about who has more ways to win. Johnny Munoz has more ways to win. Jamey Simmons' way to win is, big knockout power. He has it. He throws everything 100%. Johnny Munoz, sorry, that was Jamey Simmons' path. Johnny Munoz has way more ways to win. His striking is more technical. He'll mix in his kicks. He'll mix in his punches. He has nice takedowns, chain wrestling, jiu-jitsu. Jamey Simmons throws everything with 100% okay wrestling. So, to me, obviously, I think Johnny Munoz is the pick. He's definitely the pick. I don't know if I would put him in DraftKings. He's not in my lineup. $9,100 is a lot of money, and I feel like there's a lot of opportunities on this card. So he's not in my lineup for now. The monkey knife fight line. So if you're new here, you don't know what that is. Monkey knife fight is daily fantasy. You almost triple your money with a win. All you need to do is pick the more or less on strikes. 86 for Munoz, 51 for Jamey. Honestly, that's a really hard line. That's a really hard line because I think Munoz could get a finish here, and 86 is a lot if there's a finish. What do you think about that line?
I don't think he's going to get a finish. I think Simmons is tough enough, and I don't think Munoz is that good. Obviously, he's the better fighter in this matchup, but I don't think he's anything like flashy and spectacular. He's got some power behind him, but I could see that Simmons just kind of is just laying on top of him, wearing him, and not like on top of him, like taking him down, but just push him against the cage, controlling the fight a little bit. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of room for a stoppage in this fight, unless it is Simmons. But I would play probably the less in this.
Less on both sides, even less than 51.5. So
yeah, I just said that there would be a stoppage, but I still think it's going to be low volume. So I kind of contradict myself a little bit, but you get what I'm going with.
Well, we'll see what happens to that line. Those lines do move, but WeWantPicks.com. Jump into Monkey Knife Fights, sign up, promo code WWP. You get yourself some free money, use the free money, and try to triple it on that line. Next up at UFC 265, we have Melissa Gatto versus Victoria Leonardo. Victoria Leonardo, 8-3 overall. And there's a spelling error on the screen, and Jacob's loving it because I have to do all the graphics now. Victoria Leonardo, 8-3 overall, only 2-3 in her last 5. Melissa Gatto, 6-0-2. 2 draws when you've only had 6 wins is kind of crazy. 2 draws out of 8 professional fights is actually quite a bit. She's obviously 3-0 in her last 5, or actually 3-2 in her last 5. She is coming off of a very long layoff. She was supposed to make her UFC debut a while ago, but she's had a bunch of injuries. COVID didn't help. Legit 3-year layoff. Melissa Gatto is very interesting. Leonardo has basically had her entire career during the span that Gatto was not fighting during her layoff. She has very good jiu-jitsu, especially off of her back, but that actually could be a problem in this matchup. Victoria Leonardo is Jacob's first ever lock of the week, and that went really poorly for him. So her last outing, she got hammered. She got smoked. She got beat up pretty badly. She's definitely the veteran here. She likes to come forward. She is a pressure fighter. If she can dictate the pace and if she can come forward and she can implement her will, she does pretty well. She wants to get it to the ground, and she'll do that with body locks, trips. She also has pretty good jiu-jitsu, but she makes up for any gaps in jiu-jitsu and striking with her pressure. She does have very, very good pressure. She does move forward. She does try to dictate the pace. Melissa Gatto, I mentioned, has that good jiu-jitsu. The problem with her jiu-jitsu is a lot of it is off of her back, and she will hang out on her back looking for something, accepting guard, accepting that position, throwing her legs up, trying to make something happen. If this goes to the ground, Gatto could win by submission, or Gatto could spend the whole time on her back doing nothing while Leonardo has good pressure and stays active. So Victoria Leonardo is my pick here. The underdog is my pick, literally because styles make fights, and that jiu-jitsu off your back style. And you know, I think she's like a purple belt, maybe a brown. So it's not like she's Damian Maia. So styles make fights. Guard jiu-jitsu off your back is not meant for MMA, especially at her level. Victoria Leonardo is my pick. Jacob, are you going to double her up as your lock of the week twice?
Victoria. What a disappointment you have been in my life. And really and I've said it before, it was only because she only lost that fight because she lost her hair tie. She had her hair just like that in the photo, no braids or anything. Hair came out. She couldn't see. She couldn't get the takedowns. That's the only reason the lock of the week lost. But with that being said, if I'm looking at this fight and we're going to be honest with ourselves, Victoria Leonardo is a horrible striker. She's a grappler that's got no takedowns. She can't get takedowns.
Yep, body locks.
She can't get takedowns. I think this is I would stay away from this fight completely because Gatto is also someone that is just like you mentioned, the layoff, and you watch film on her, and she is good on the ground, but she's not great at getting it to the ground. I think what it comes down to this fight is simply who wins the scrambles. who is going to win the scrambles, because they're both going to want to go to the ground. There's going to be a scrambles. Victoria is probably the stronger one, but she gets a little sloppy when she gets on top sometimes. So there's going to be scrambles. Whoever wins the scrambles is going to win the fight. I have no idea who it's going to be. It probably should be Gatto, but I wouldn't be surprised if Leonardo won as well. So if you like Leonardo, she honestly could have decent value for $7,400, because I think there is a lot of advances, a lot of scrambles. There's going to be some sloppy takedowns, and she's probably the stronger fighter of the two. So I'm going to go with Gatto, but no thanks on this fight.
Yeah, I agree. There's no bet here. And, I'm a conservative bettor in general, but I do try to bet on or try to find an opportunity on most fights. There's no opportunity here. There's too many unknowns, but I do think the line is wrong. I think you have to go with Leonardo. She's the veteran in this situation, even though she only has 11 fights. They're both grapplers. Leonardo's been busy. Leonardo likes to fight on top. Gatto will fight on her back and hasn't fought in 3 years. Like, there's just too much going against her. And she may come out and look like an absolute bulldozer because that layoff might have been good for her, but it was injury plagued. There were issues with code and stuff. My pick is Leonardo. I'm not touching it in DraftKings. I'm not touching it with bets. I do think the Monkey Knife Fight line is actually pretty decent. I'm not going to go less. I'll go less on Gatto, more on Leonardo, because I think Leonardo will be on top. And I think she'll just be peppering away, doing stuff. She does have solid pressure. So I like less more on that line. If you do want to play for crazy reason, we want picks.com/bets. Next up at UFC 265, we have Miles Johns versus Anderson Dos Santos. This is a rebooked fight. This is rebooked from UFC Vegas 31. It was a couple of weeks ago. And what I love about the rebooked fights, so obviously we broke this down. I think we had uploaded it because it was canceled last minute or so. But what is interesting about these is the lines go out. The odds makers put out a line. People bet on the line. The line then moves and the fight is canceled. So when the fight gets rebooked, the odds makers basically know what everybody's going to do. So these odds and these DraftKings prices are different than the last time around, and they're much wider. This time around, Miles Johns is a much larger favorite than he was. He was 160 last time. He is now 200. So a 2-to-1 favorite. He was a 1.5-to-1 favorite first go around. So that's interesting, because that tells me that last time everybody was on Miles Johns to the point where the sports books had to adjust their numbers. So I always love seeing the numbers on a rebook fight. So Miles Johns is 11-1 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off of a win. Anderson Dos Santos, 21-8. He's definitely the veteran here. He is 3-2 in his last 5, also coming off of a win. Miles Johns is a good, strong grappler with very heavy hands and explosive speed. The wrestling is the core of basically everything he does. He's coming off of an awesome knockout win. This is a step up in competition. He does have phenomenal athleticism, which should get him the win, right? He's more athletic. He's explosive. He's got the power. He's got the wrestling. And the wrestling should be able to dictate where the fight goes if he gets in trouble. But I do like veterans, and Anderson Dos Santos is a very good BJJ black belt. He has very heavy strikes himself, and he uses those to get it to the ground. He does have actual takedowns, unlike Jacob's good friend Ryan Hall. He's very aggressive. He likes to draw people into wars. His BJJ is good. His takedown defense is not great, but his offense is actually pretty solid. So it's a really interesting matchup. It really is. And I'm going to have to go Anderson Dos Santos. And Miles Johns is better almost everywhere. I just like Dos Santos's power, and I like the veteran craftiness. I don't love the pick. Don't follow me on that. But I don't know why I picked Anderson Dos Santos a few weeks ago when this was booked the first time. I'm liking it now too. And I don't know why. I'm just leaning towards some of these veterans. And as we break down this card, I'm actually going to contradict that because I'm going the other way on a bunch of them. But in this matchup, I think Miles Johns relies a little too heavily on his athleticism. And somebody like Anderson Dos Santos can exploit that with the veteran craftiness. I don't love the pick. It's my pick, but I don't love it. Jacob, what are your thoughts?
Miles John, the 5A Kansas State Wrestling Champion. We all know it's Arkansas #1, Kansas #2. Miles Johns is in my lineup because I think that it's going to come down to the big question is Anderson Dos Santos going to either stuff the takedowns or is he going to try and get submissions? Because I think if he tries to get those submissions, if he keeps trying to pull a guillotine, I think he's just going to get dominated and out wrestled on the ground, and he's going to get going to be in a lot of trouble for probably just a decision win for Miles Johns. If he tries to stuff those takedowns, I think it's a little bit closer fight. And on the flip side for Miles Johns, for me in this fight, I think that he should use his wrestling only when he needs to. So I think that he has the striking advantage in this fight. And if maybe he feels uncomfortable or there's a situation where he needs to use his wrestling either to steal the round or he's losing the exchange and he needs to go to a leg, that's when I think he should use his wrestling. If he comes out and tries to shoot takedowns early, he can easily get caught by Dos Santos. You mentioned how good he is. When they're dry, weird things happen. So I would prefer Miles Johns, even though DraftKings, it's better with the takedowns. For him to win the fight, I think that he should use his wrestling only when he needs to steal rounds, either, and maybe even do that Ricky Simone versus whoever we were talking about last week. Where you just kind of take him down and get the points for that and let him back up and then keep fighting. So I like Miles Johns in this to be able to dominate with the wrestling. He's in my lineup, and that's first person in my lineup. And yeah, I think he's going to win the fight.
I agree with everything you said. I picked Anderson Dos Santos, and I just like the veteran craftiness in his jiu-jitsu. He does have power, but Miles Johns should win. He has the tools to win. He's definitely not the better jiu-jitsu guy, not even close, but he also has some decent power in his hands. He definitely has the wrestling. He's a more athletic fighter. So, I think the odds are crazy, personally. Miles Johns should be a favorite, but I think he should be like a -145 favorite. But either way, I don't disagree with you. I'm not going to argue it. And your pick is the safer pick for sure. I do like the more and more on the Monkey Knife Fight line. I do like that because I think they'll go at it. I think Anderson's, veteran crafty will force action where Miles John might not want some action. And he'll be striking everywhere. He'll be making things dirty and ugly, and that's the fight he likes to be in. So I like the more and more in the Monkey Knife Fight. I don't have any bets on this. I actually hope the line is going to swing like crazy, and then I'll probably do my favorite by 3.5 points on the judges' sports card or the judges' scorecard for Anderson Dos Santos, because I think he'll definitely steal a round for sure. So either way, those are our picks. We're split on this. When Danny Boy shows up, we'll ask him his thoughts. Next up at UFC 265, we have Manel Kape, not Kape. This dude's fought like 17 times the last 6 months. We keep breaking him down, but I finally said Kape instead of Kape. And then we have Osbourne. Manel Kape, 15-6 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, coming off of 2 losses in a row. Osbourne, 9-3 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off of a very nice win. And this should be a really, really fun fight. Manel Kape is fast. He's explosive. He has no issues doing crazy things like throwing flying knees or other just like head hunting, knockout hunting techniques. He will put them out there, and he is looking for a finish. He's a southpaw with really good pressure. He bounces in and out of range really, really well. He should be the better wrestler. Not that this is going to be a wrestling match, but he should be the better wrestler if he needs to use that. And he uses that to close the distance well. His bouncing in and out of that distance, of that range, he ducks, takes a shot. So he does time those really well when he uses them. He's super fun to watch, but it's almost like he has too much fun fighting. And he does make some like bonehead mistakes sometimes where you're yelling at the screen saying, why are you doing that? Stop doing that. So I wouldn't necessarily call it low fight IQ. I would just call it.
Sorry to interrupt, but isn't it how he lost his last fight against? Yes. He lost that split decision where a lot of people thought he didn't lose, but I think I remember we were watching that fight thinking like, "What the hell are you doing, man?"
That's exactly. It's literally because I don't want to call it low fight IQ because I think he knows what he's supposed to be doing. I literally think he just enjoys fighting and gets caught up in the moment. and just makes poor decisions because he's enjoying the exchanges instead of making the smart choice, which is, whatever it is, shoot a takedown or not spin, stuff like that. Anyway, O'Day Osbourne is moving down from 145 to 125. So he never cut weight. He wasn't like a massive guy cutting a ton of weight. And now how the hell is he going to do it? He basically was fighting natural, cut a few pounds, but now he's actually cutting weight to make it happen. So that is honestly a factor to me. I don't know. I can't speak for him and what experience he has cutting weight, but to do, he has 12 professional fights. To do that and not have to cut weight and now do a legitimate,
he's bounced around between featherweight and bantamweight. So he's fought bantamweight I think like 5 or 6 times.
So even if he fought at 35, going from 35 to 25, 10 pounds at that weight is insane.
High percentage.
That's almost 10% of your body weight. So either way, that is a factor for me. And I don't know, he wasn't like a wrestler growing up. It's not something he's used to doing. So that definitely is a factor for me. But either way, he's also a southpaw. He also uses his range really well because he is long and he keeps people at the end of his punches. Manel jumps in and out, where O'Day keeps you at the end. He doesn't come in and out. He literally just keeps you at the end of it. He has the reach advantage, which, me, I don't care what Tapology says. I'm not a 2-inch reach advantage. So that's that's not who I am. But because he is really good at using that range, that is a tiny factor here. He does have really good power and finishing ability. Manel Kape is my pick, but he's on a skid, and I don't know if he's going to pull himself out of it. I like that, Jake. Why you let me know your thoughts?
Yeah, that was the biggest thing that I had highlighted on my notes was the weight cut, because I like O'Day in this matchup, but if you're looking at him on Friday at weigh-ins and he's sucked out and struggling, then I would pick Kape in this matchup. But if he looks good on the scale Friday, I think that he wins this matchup. I think that he's a very good striker. And first of all, I got to mention this because Manel Kape is the guy that got into it with Ian McCall in a different promotion like years ago. He slapped the back of Ian McCall's head, and then Ian McCall just at like a face-off or whatever. Go and watch that video. And the funniest thing about that video, there's a guy dressed up as a big cup of noodles. You can buy at the store, big cup of noodles. He's dressed up as a big cup of noodles in the background, just standing there, and a fight breaks out, and you just see the big cup of noodles just looking back and forth like, what the hell is going on? It's the funniest thing in the world. You have to watch it. Listen, I think that is it Kape or Cop? Is it Cop?
I think it's Cop.
Cop.
I bounce back and forth, but I think
Manel, to win this fight, I think he has to get in and make it dirty, because if you try and straight clean with O'Day, you're probably going to get knocked out, especially if he brings that 145 power down to 125. When Manel gets hit, it's going to feel different. So I'm going to wait to see what O'Day looks like on Friday to really make a decision, but I think this is his fight to kind of steal. I'm pretty actually surprised at the odds and the value. I figured that this would be more of almost even a pick 'em, because it's not like O'Day lost a bunch in a row and now he's like trying to find himself at a new weight class. He won a ton in a row. His only losses to a guillotine to Brian Kelleher, which everyone loses to Brian Kelleher by a guillotine, basically. So
that's actually what started. That's actually what triggered him to say, I need to move down in weight. I'm not big enough in this weight class.
Yeah. So, and if it pays off, he'll be huge for this weight class with unreal power. So I'll wait to see Friday to make an official decision, and neither one of these guys are in my lineup, but I'm leaning towards O'Day in this matchup.
Dan just texted us because he's going to be hopping on soon, and he said, what fight are you on? We told him the O'Day Kape, and Cop, and he said, I bet on O'Day. So he's on O'Day as well. I have Manel Kape in my DraftKings lineup. I do think there's value there, even at $9,000, because I do think Kape gets it done because, again, he has more tools. I think he's better at not using the range because he doesn't use the range. He goes in and out of it, and I think he can get in, drop, shoot a takedown if he needs to.
And I'll tell
I don't love it.
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick bet I made because I was looking at the bets and they don't have everything up right away. I was going to place an under one round or under 2 rounds in this matchup, because I think they come out and just bang heads and just go crazy. And with Ode's power and Manel's got power, I think something wild happens. The bet's not available, so I put a first round TKO bet on Kape at plus 900 with 1 unit, and a first round TKO bet on Ode for plus like 1100. So I bet both of them to get a first round knockout.
I mean, if you think it's a firefight, that's what's gonna happen. That's the way to go.
Man.
They could just stare at each other.
I don't know.
Because
I think Ode is willing to stare, but as you mentioned, Manel comes forward and he's a wild man.
He's a ton of fun. I do trust him in this fight. I like him in this fight. I like him a lot. I also like the more and more in the Monkey Knife Fight line. The Monkey Knife Fight line is with you. There's going to be a stoppage. I don't know if there's going to be an early stoppage. I think they're going to go at it for a little while. They're both technical strikers, and I think that they'll avoid getting knocked out. So I like the more on the Monkey Knife Fight line. I have Manel Kape in my lineup. I don't love that either. And watch our DraftKings breakdown video. You'll see why he's in my lineup. But I do think he wins this fight. I think he's a safer play. I think striking-wise, they're somewhat even. Grappling-wise, not that this is going to be a grappling match, but grappling-wise, Kape is the better grappler. And, he's got more MMA experience. So he's my pick. You went the other way. We're split on this. Danny Boy is picking Ode Osbourne. He loves the value, and he liked him in a bet too. So it's 2 against 1. I am on the wrong side of that. Next up at UFC 265, we have Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Jessica Penne. Karolina, I loved her when she was like, at one point she was fighting for a title. She was like, they were really hyping her up. I was all about Karolina. I loved her. First of all, she's awesome. And she had a really fun fight style. And then she just took time off. First she hit a 4-fight loss skid and then took some time off. So Karolina, 12-6 overall, 1-4 in her last 5. So if that tells you anything, she was just killing it. Fought for a title, like was a really big deal, the next big thing, and then just hit a wild skid, which sucks. Jessica Penne, we've broke her down before. 13-5 overall. She is 2-3 in her last 5, coming off of a win that wasn't a win. She absolutely 100% lost that fight. Should not have gotten that decision. And that was after a USADA suspension. So she's shrouded in her own drama and issues and layoff and stuff like that. So Karolina Kowalkiewicz, at one point was a legit contender. She's a very good kickboxer with solid technique and power in that division. She's been in a lot of wars, so she's a little worn out, if you will. And there's a bunch of fighters on this card like that. Jose Aldo is another one. Jessica Penne, she definitely lost her last fight. I don't care what those judges say. She's got less than okay boxing, but good grappling. She doesn't have any real power. And her path to victory is absolutely take Karolina down, ride her out. But Karolina is the better striker, the better MMA fighter, and has really good takedown defense. I think, what is the face you're making me?
No, yeah, I mean, you said that she took some time off. I'm just scrolling here. She did not take any time off on her Instagram. I'm just
oh my God. All right. Well, she took time off to start a family. Her and her partner, they're not married. Her and her partner were like, he wanted to have a kid. She said, okay. I don't know if they ever had the kid, but that's what that time off was. So Jacob, give us your pick. And Danny Boy, I'm going to add you to the screen. Just hop right in like nothing happened.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that.
Wait, I thought it was 10:45. I'm a half hour early.
Typical Dan.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that you mentioned that Penne lost her last fight, because she got, in my mind, absolutely dominated by Luque in that fight and somehow won a decision. Luque, every time that Jessica was trying to grapple with her, Luque literally just picked her up and would just toss her to the other side of the octagon. And I think Jessica at some point had like in her body triangle, so the judges absolutely loved that. She did nothing with it, but Luque absolutely dominated that fight. Karolina has a vlog. I have no idea what she's saying. They speak Polish the entire time. But in one of her vlogs,
but I watched it.
But I do watch it. In one of her vlogs a week ago, she was doing some light sparring with Joanna over there in Poland. So she seems like she's been working hard. Obviously, that's good company to keep with Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I think honestly, this is probably Jessica's fight to lose because you mentioned the grappling ability. She couldn't get Luque down, but she can probably get Karolina down. And if you look at some of the strike numbers that Karolina has given up to her opponents, it's unreal. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me. I have the Instagram still up. But it was like 130 strikes to one person, 150 strikes to another person. I wouldn't
think she gets hit that much.
What's that?
You're saying she gets hit.
That her opponent hit her that many times in a fight. So if I was Jessica, I wouldn't try that strategy, but it seems like it's worked for people in the past. I think Jessica can take this fight to the ground and not dominate there, but win just an ugly fight. And for some reason, the judges seem to love her. So I think she wins, but I'm staying away from this on both sides for DraftKings for sure. So Dan, how you feeling, bud?
Wait.
Oh, this one?
Who do you think wins?
Hold on. Do I have a quarter somewhere? I'm going to flip it in the air. And heads is Karolina, tails is Jessica. So I know everyone's looking for insight in this one, but I mean, long layoff, unreliability on the other end in terms of fighting. I agree. Penne lost that fight. I give a slight edge to Karolina, but I wouldn't touch this. Betting, DraftKings, I'm staying away from it on everything. I'll do a little bit of tape during the week, but honestly, I don't think it matters what you watch on the tape because
it doesn't.
I don't think you can count on either of them to show up and do what you've seen in the past again. So, no, it's not much of a breakdown, but that's probably the truth.
Yeah, I honestly 100% agree with you. I mean, Karolina is definitely the better striker. And if this was 5 years ago, I think Karolina smokes her. I really do.
She would be a heavy favorite 5 years ago.
Yeah. But things are weird now, so who knows? But if you're going to do a bet because you're just a straight up degenerate, and I guarantee by the end of the week, Dan sprinkles some sort of bet on this. Don't let him fool you today.
By the end of the week, I'll be like, this is a great fight, guys. I love the props that Karolina.
I love the over on rounds. I love it. And that is the bet. I think if there's a bet, it's the over.
I would go over on rounds for sure.
That's going to be minus 700.
It probably will. You could play with that. You could do, goes to a decision or something like that. But that's the only thing that I could be like, yeah, this more than likely this ends up in the judges' scorecards.
Yeah.
So if for some reason you want to do that, weonpicks.com/bets. The monkey knife fight line, honestly, more is probably the play because I think it goes to a decision. I think they kind of go at it. I like more. You guys like that line or no?
Coin flip.
All right.
Yeah, I think more. They're going to go 3 rounds. You got to imagine they're going to get pitter patter, some strikes. They could go to war. Literally, it's tough to say, but yeah, I think more is the play. All kidding aside.
Jacob,
I already said more.
Okay.
Speak up.
Next up at UFC 265, we have Alonzo Menifield versus Ed Herman. Ed Herman, 25-14. He is 2-3 in his last 5, but riding a 3-fight win streak. This dude's career was basically done. He's 40, almost 41. A legit veteran. Our buddy Glover, I think Glover's pro debut was against Ed Herman. So Ed Herman has been doing this for a ridiculously long time. But he's found some success late in his career. Alonzo Menifield is 10-2 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, coming off of a submission win, which looking at his body type, you would not think that there was a submission win in there, but he is as dangerous as he looks. Ed Herman, a legitimate veteran with really good grappling, sneaky good submissions. He's incredibly durable as well, considering how long his career has been. He really doesn't get put out. He's always in a fight, if you will, and he's super crafty. I would say Alonzo knocking him out, which is exactly what DraftKings thinks, exactly what Monkey Knife Fight thinks, and what the betting odds thinks. I don't think knocking Ed Herman out early is a guarantee because of how tough he is and what a veteran he is. Alonzo Menifield, incredible power, He actually has a few takedowns here and there. His cardio is an issue. Not could be an issue. His cardio is an issue and always will be an issue. You cannot be that jacked, that explosive, and not run out of gas. I actually think that's a problem in this fight. Ed Herman is a veteran. He'll figure out how to survive. Alonzo Menifield will gas, and then it'll get interesting. Alonzo Menifield is absolutely my pick. Don't let me trick you to think otherwise, but I don't think this is a first-round knockout that everybody thinks it is. What do you think, Danny?
I agree with you in just about everything. I think it's like teetering on, I just checked the lines right now, it's actually plus 200 now. It's like teetering on the line of like, is there some value betting-wise against Ed Herman? Because, dude, he's tough, he hits hard, he's durable. His, best years are obviously behind him. He's not anywhere athletically competitive with Alonzo Menifield, but Menifield after that first round has fading fights. But I did want to get to, because I feel like his last fight, he got that quick sub or whatever. He looked lighter.
A short notice fight too, though.
Right, but I feel like I read somewhere going into that fight, and I'm going to dig into this a little throughout the week, that he revamped his training, his conditioning. And I know a lot of guys say this, but I think he weighed in lighter too. I could be wrong on this, but I feel like he made some big changes. I was excited to see him a few rounds into the fight. It didn't get there, but at any rate, Menifield's the pick for a reason. He's minus 240 for a reason. But I think that I don't know. This is one that I'm gonna find a little bit of something to do with a prop bet, whether it be like second or third round Herman, just in case Menifield, in that third round, this fight might not look pretty for him. So anyways, the pick is Menifield. I guess he probably should knock him out, but if he doesn't, it could get ugly.
Well, and I love the monkey knife fight more and more. I'm going to hit that hard because that is saying it's a first round knockout. I do not think that happened.
That's a great bet. I mean, that's a great play.
Yeah, I love it. And before I go to you, Jacob, tomorrow, so tonight is Tuesday. I don't know when you're watching this, but tomorrow, which is Wednesday, Chris, the guy who sets the monkey knife fight lines, will be joining me and walking through his lines, why he got there, and how he feels about the line itself. So WeWillPicks.com, promo code WWP when you sign up for Monkey Knife Fight. Hit this line. I love this, and I'm positive he'll move this line because I think a lot of people are going to hit it. Menifield, early, quick knockout makes sense, seems logical. I just think Herman's a little too crafty. Jakey Poo, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Alexander has a great comment in the chat to bet Ed Herman on the live bet after the first round. Because if he survives that first round, you could probably get unreal odds because he's probably not going to look good. Listen, I kind of agree with you guys in the fact that, you know what this reminds me of is last week, the Jason Witt fight. I mean, we all expected Jason Witt to get knocked out.
No. I had Jason Witt winning that fight. Don't group me in with you.
Okay. Yeah, Angelo did. You got to give him credit on that one.
The entire world besides Angelo had Witt getting knocked out in the first round, and we saw what happened. He survived. I mean, he almost did, but he survived. And then Barberena was gassed, and he was just grinding on that veteran. Ed Herman can also grapple as well. He can get the fight to the ground. He's a grappler. So, Menifield obviously has the power, but a lot of his shots are looping shots, and he's not like head movement in. It's kind of just chin forward, going to throw a looping shot and hope it lands. And after he loses the power, he showed off some grappling in the last short notice fight. He was kind of gifted that fight to get a free win versus Fabio. Even though I think I might have picked Fabio in that fight. I can't remember, but yeah, he was kind of gifted that. So after he loses the power, what does he really have? And Ed Herman's got a ton of tools. He's a veteran. So I think this could be that Jason Witt fight last week to where, that he just kind of grinds out an ugly decision win. But now that I say that, he's probably going to get knocked out in the first 30 seconds. So I think Alonzo Menifield is the play. He should win. He should be able to knock him out. But I wouldn't be not surprised at all if Ed Herman gets us to the third round and then not takes over, but makes it his fight.
This could be a plus 3.5 play too, depending.
I don't know about plus 3.5 because he either gets knocked out or like squeaks out something. I don't think he'll
And his last
lose
win
a decision where he lost 2 rounds and won one.
And his last win too was not actually a win. That was the weird thing where he got
veteran crafty. He faked the nut shut, took 11 minutes to
heal. He didn't fake it. The ref stopped it. He just went down because he got a liver shot, and then the ref jumped in and stopped it and then gave him 5 full minutes. He was a veteran by taking the full time. It was funny too because after the 5 minutes, the guy came over and immediately kneed him again. He was like, I got hit in the same spot, but he survived. So eventually got that Kimura.
Alexander Ryan in the chat said Ed can also get KO'd and convince the judge he didn't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen,
great.
When I say veteran crafty, it's all of that. I mean, dude, 25 plus 14. He's in 39 fights. That is a ton of fights. That is a lot of experience. And at one point, he was fighting some of the best in the world. So Ed Herman is not my pick. I don't think anybody's official pick is Ed Herman, but I think some of these odds are a bit of a trap. And, I think there's definitely some value, as Dan said, trying to find some props that may work for Ed Herman.
If Menifield didn't have good takedown defense, I probably would be all over this. But that's the biggest problem is Menifield actually does have some decent takedown defense, at least in the tape that I was watching.
Yeah, early, though. I don't think he's going to have it late.
I like the over on rounds because I think the round line is 1.5, and I love going over 1.5 round lines. I like the over on rounds, and the more a monkey knife fight. This is my favorite monkey knife fight line. I put these graphics together.
That means the fight's going to drop.
This and the main event, I love the monkey knife fight lines. More. WeOwnPicks.com/MKF. Next up at UFC 265, we have Drako Rodriguez versus Vince Morales. Drako Rodriguez, 7-2 overall. He is 3-2 in his last 5, coming off of a pretty bad loss. And then we have Vince Morales, 9-5 overall, but 2-3 in his last 5. 2 of those losses in a row. Things are not looking great for him recently, but Drako Rodriguez is very, very aggressive. He chops up the legs. He throws big, heavy power shots. He does have a few pro boxing wins, but I don't think his path here is boxing. I think his path here is leg kicks, which he does use. He needs to use those leg kicks to slow down Vince and then touch him up. Vince Morales is a decent striker with okay boxing, but he does move well both in the body and the head, meaning he has good footwork and his head is never in the same spot for more than a second. He comes forward, and what he needs to do is not let Drake settle in. He needs to make sure Drako is backing up, not settling in, not landing those leg kicks so that he can touch the chin and make something happen because he does have some decent power. The line is moving here. So I put these graphics together 2 days ago. I don't know if one of you want to check the line right now, but I'll think
do it. Yeah, I'm the prepared one.
Vince has definitely moved quite a bit. Some money has come in on him. And Drako Rodriguez lost his official UFC debut. He had
minus 115 for Drako. Vince is a minus 105 now.
So the line is moving, and Vince may end up being a favorite by the end of this. And a lot of that has to do with Drako Rodriguez in his last fight. He did not look good against Faraz Sahabi's younger brother at all. And he was a massive favorite going into that fight. So either way, it's an interesting fight. Draco's path to me is chop down Vince's legs. Vince's path is continue to move forward so Drako can't settle in and then touch him up. Jakey, what are your thoughts?
Honestly, I think Drako should dominate this fight. I don't think Vince Morales I think he's good everywhere. I don't see anywhere where he's great. I don't see anywhere where I look at Vince Morales on film and think, wow, he does blank very, very well. He's very good everywhere, but I just don't see that flashy thing where Drako he's had some professional boxing fights. His boxing is very good. I think he got a little overconfident in his last fight. He kind of tried to step in and throw that power shot and got caught. And that was a bad KO. And honestly, I think the biggest part of this fight is who's going to be the aggressor, because Drako, you could see him coming out being a little bit hesitant after the big KO. Vince, actually, this is his first fight since blowing out his Achilles last August. So he had a long layoff. I think he had another injury, started coming back, and then blew out his Achilles, which is no joke of an injury. That thing is, you can start doing stuff after 6 months, but some people say it takes, 12, 18 months to really fully recover from an Achilles. So honestly, I think whoever comes out and establishes themselves early, who's the first one to land that big shot, I could see the other one kind of really folding in that situation. And I think it's going to be Drako. I think he kind of got embarrassed with that KO loss. I think he knows he's a better boxer. I think he comes in, pieces Vince up early. So I have Drako in my lineup. I think he's great value at $8,400 because I think his boxing is that much better than Vince, and I don't see anywhere really where Vince can take this fight where Drako would lose. So I think this is Draco's fight to lose.
Yeah, I mean, I think Draco's a bit overrated. I don't agree with everything you said, but I do think he's a little there's a little more hype than substance there. Danny boy, what are your thoughts?
I kind of agree with you more, Angelo. I personally think Vince Morales is actually the better fighter here.
Fix your microphone.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Jesus, dude. I mean,
this
flying
is
a helicopter. I mean, stupid ass headset. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. You're a grown man that's
still in the bag.
5 years old.
It looks so nice.
Why don't we just cut him off for 2 fights while he plugs in the goddamn thing?
It's absurd.
2 fights. It'll take me 2 cards. No, I think Vince Morales is actually a better fighter here. I mean, listen, I think they both hit hard, so either guy is live for a knockout. But Morales has fought UFC caliber guys. I mean, he fought Song Yadong in his debut, and he's got a 1-3 UFC record, right? So that never looks good. I just think he's been in there with tough, legitimate opponents. He's down to bang. I just think he's a victim of kind of getting to the UFC early, had some tough matchups, whereas Drako Rodriguez, Angelo, you kind of said it, like they were all, I mean, he's a contender series guy, right? So I feel like there's always a little hype with these guys. And to be honest, I don't remember if I picked against him last fight, but I do think I remember saying, like, Zahabi's brother is going to be live. There's a reason this guy's, he trains with Raz Zahabi every day. Like, he's going to be better than we think. And then he got that big KO. So either way, I like Morales, especially being the underdog, the DraftKings value. I do think he wins the fight. I think it's close. I think Drako could get a knockout, but I also think Morales could get a knockout as well. So either way, I think it's going to be an exciting fight, but Morales is my pick.
I agree. I like the fight. I do like Vince in it. I think there's a little Draco's a little more hype than anything. But this should be an even fight, and the odds are showing that, right? It's starting to move. I forget what you just said, but I think he's minus
105.
Yeah, I mean that's
minus 105. I bet it a couple of days ago, like I think plus 105.
That's lost money, Dan. That's lost money.
I bet Morales, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a much more even fight. I definitely like $7,800.
I think that was the worst bet you've ever made.
He's made some bad ones. I like the $7,800.
Worse than what's his name, TKO, and your boy, the leg lock king.
Can we move? Can we talk about this card? Well, I mean, Angelo brought up Ryan Hall earlier. When can we let this go? When can we just get past this? Okay.
Either way,
Ryan Hall was cheated.
Either way, I do like the value at $7,800 for Vince Morales. I don't like this monkey knife fight line, meaning it's a really good line. I don't know what to do with it. What do you think?
More.
You think they'll go not a if there's a knockout, it's late, is what you're saying.
I don't think it's a knockout.
Yeah.
I think they're both tough enough to hang, and I think they're gonna bang for 3 rounds.
Well, it'll be a really fun fight regardless, and I'm looking forward to it. Next up at UFC 265, we have Rafael Fiziev versus Bobby King Green. Rafael Fiziev, 9-1 overall, 4-1 in his last 5. Massive favorite. Bobby Green, 3-2 in his last 5, 27-11-1. So an enormous amount of experience here. He is coming off of a loss to Thiago Moises, which a lot of people think he won. And honestly, a few different decisions, and he does win that fight. Rafael Fiziev, I always do the Brazilian pronunciation of these names, but he's not Brazilian, so it's not Rafael, it's Rafael. This will be a fantastic fight. I mean, Rafael Fiziev is a phenomenal striker, very traditional Muay Thai. He has incredible power, incredible volume. He does not have gas issues, which you kind of hope he does have if you're fighting him, but he doesn't. So he'll definitely be the better striker here, and he has really, really good takedown defense. I think he has a 100% takedown defense in the UFC. And all of these tools, the incredible striking, the fact that he's impossible to take down, the power, the volume, that is why he's a favorite here. That is why he is such a massive favorite here. I do think these odds are crazy, though. Minus 345, I think that's a bit much. Bobby Green has really good volume, and he is insanely tough. He has that Roy Jones style boxing where his hands are super low, and then he jumps in with the jab, jumps in with the straight rights instead of hands up in traditional fighting or traditional boxing stance. He is a good grappler, and he's actually well-rounded. The problem is he's sort of a jack of all trades, where Rafael Fiziev is an absolute master of his trade. Bobby Green should have the wrestling advantage and an advantage on the ground if it gets there. I just don't know if it'll get there with Fiziev having a 100% takedown defense. Danny boy, do you think these odds are crazy?
I love these 100% takedown defense.
And it's because he had 2 fights in the UFC. So
who tried to take him down? One person who to this day haunts me that he didn't shoot a takedown was Moicano, and you're talk about stupid bets. I still would make the same bet if they rematch, but I bet pretty heavy on that one, and I was like, Moicano, all he needs to do is get to the clinch, get a trip, get a takedown. We don't even know if Fiziev knows how to wrestle or do any jiu-jitsu. I'm obviously being sarcastic. The guy's one of the coaches at one of the best MMA gyms in the world, so he's obviously skilled.
Your microphone. What is the problem?
What do you mean? It was the same spot it was.
All right.
Dude, you're the one that's echoing over there. Like, maybe it's your computer again. And you should have heard Angelo yelling at me last week. He's like, really? Again? It turns out it was his computer or internet or whatever it was. The guy assumes everybody's look at that.
All right. Can you finish your breakdown, please?
Really? After you just went on for 20 minutes reading from a teleprompter?
They're called notes.
Yeah. Well, put them on the screen and everyone's looking at. Anyways, Fiziev, guy's got to be good. We haven't seen him proven on the ground. I don't know. I'm assuming he's got some skills, but listen, if I had Bobby Green's cell phone number, Jacob, can you find it out? Call him up, ask him if he's going to have a smart game plan with wrestling, and I would bet on Bobby Green in this fight. Definitely plus 3.5. But I mean, plus 260 odds. This guy is good. It's just you never know if he's going to show up and fight. Like the fight IQ is always not the best. But man, plus 260, they're going to force me to bet on Bobby Green. I actually just did place a bet. Plus 3.5 for plus 105, which, I mean, Bobby Green, hard to finish, good wrestling. If he has half of a game plan, he should steal around here. So, and I'm definitely putting in my DraftKings too.
Well, and that plus 3.5 bet, I'm logging into my account now because I definitely bet on this fight. I have 3.5 in my notes. I want to see what odds I got it at. Jacob, what are your thoughts here? So Dan's picking Bobby Green, but only because you're hoping and praying he has a grapple-heavy game plan, right?
Oh, who am I actually picking to win the fight? Yeah, Bobby Green, sure. I just hope he wrestles. If he fights smart, good. If he tries to strike, no, he's going to get beat up. So
you're probably not going to like this next part because I did my research on Bobby.
Oh no, he's the lock of the week.
No, if you look on July 5th, which is less than a month ago, he posted a caption. He had the shirt off picture, and the caption read as follows: "Quote, been fat all year, finally getting my weight down." That was less than a month ago. He said he's been fat all year. So he fought, when was it, in February or whatever. sounds like he hadn't been doing much of anything until these last 4 weeks. So, he said he's in shape now, but that's to me, not a great sign. And if you look at Rafael, this dude throws everything to kill you. He throws leg kicks to kill you. He throws punches to kill you. If he gets you in that Muay Thai clinch, he will throw knees to put his knee through your skull. It is unreal the power that this guy throws with on every single strike and does not get tired. In my mind, this should be minus 500 for Rafael. I love him in this matchup. This is about, you mentioned the grappling. This is actually a battle of the blue belts. They're both blue belts. So I don't think I think Bobby would have the experience of like the wrestling. But if you're looking at just jiu-jitsu,
Jacob says it like maybe a little bit.
Yeah. So, but if you're looking at just jiu-jitsu, I don't think Bobby Green's going to overwhelm Rafael with anything crazy. And if this stays on the feet, then he's in big, big trouble because Rafael is a Muay Thai champion. The guy is unreal, throws everything to kill you. He's in my DraftKings lineup. I love him in this matchup, which if you've been following me the last few weeks, you probably want to play Bobby Green.
Yeah, I bet. So I have 2 bets on this. I just pulled them up on my iPad here. I have Rafael Fiziev wins by points, meaning he wins a decision. I got plus 125 on that, and that's because Bobby Green is so stupid tough. So tough. Then I got Bobby Green at plus 3.5 points, which means you can buy 3.5 points on the judge's scorecard. The odds are the math is basically all Bobby needs to do is win one round. One round. That's all he has to do. And if he wins a round, even if he loses a decision, I win my bet.
How do you think he's going to win a round? Just by taking it down?
Yeah.
Shooting. Yeah, that's exactly how. I mean,
I think he's going to eat a knee if he gets anywhere close.
Jacob, by the way, you might be right, but we don't know. No one's even tested it against Fiziev. No one of a high caliber of wrestling has tested it.
The second that you try and shoot on him, if he gets one underhook, then you're in 2 seconds, you're in a Muay Thai clinch, getting kneed unrelentlessly.
Right, maybe. When we see that, then we'll know.
Maybe it's how it's gonna be.
Okay.
Well, a monkey knife fight, they're on this line, man. This is a high line. I was actually hoping it would be a super low one, thinking that they would be like everybody else, that there's first round knockout, but it's a high line. And I do think it's likely a decision. But I might play the less.
Honestly, sorry, there's nothing I hate more than high lines.
Okay. I might go, I think I play less here just to hedge against myself, essentially. But I do think.
Right. So you made both of those bets. Bobby Green plus 3.5 at what were the odds?
Plus 105. And then I got Fiziev wins a decision at plus 125. Basically,
plus 125.
What'd you say?
Angelo's internet's breaking again, and he's going to yell at me that it's my microphone.
Plus 125, Fiziev wins a decision. You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We're just trying to figure out if and how stupid that double-sided bet is.
It's not double-sided. All it has to be is if Fiziev wins 2 rounds and Bobby Green wins 1 round, I win both bets.
Right, but that's what you have to have. Right, or Bobby Green. You have to have. That's actually the only outcome you can have to win both bets.
Yeah, but I only did a half a unit on Fiziev and a full on Bobby plus 3.5. Anyway, I think it goes long. I might do the over on rounds too. I think Bobby Green is just so tough that this will go long. And it's in Texas, and those Texas judges are super suspect, so anything could happen.
What's the over on the rounds?
2.5. I was hoping it'd be 1.5, but it's 2.5 rounds.
You guys are getting roasted in the chat.
You know what? We're not looking at the chat. We're breaking down this fight. And
I'll look at the chat. They're my people.
Let's move on to the next one. Next up at UFC 265, we have Song Yadong versus Kenney. Song Yadong 16-5-1 overall. He is 3-1-1 in his last 5, coming off of that.
Hold on,
loss.
Rewind. Hold on, Jester in the chat.
We're not.
I mean, there's a very good point from the group chat over here on YouTube. I did not know that. This is what the stuff I dig into during the week. He went to Sanford MMA, Fiziev, for this camp. That is a factor.
All right. Either way, it's not even called a group chat. It's a live chat. You old
Whatever,
weirdo.
dude.
Let me do the intro again, Grandpa. Next up.
Thank you, Jester.
Okay. Yes. Next up at UFC 265, we have Song Yadong versus Kenney. Song Yadong 16-5-1. He is 4-1-1. Sorry, 3-1-1 in his last 5, coming off the loss to Jacob's Lock of the Week. And I think that's the last time.
Hey!
That's the last time that happened. Then we have Kenney 16-3 overall, 3-2 in his last 5. He is coming off of that loss to Dominic Cruz, which people were roasting him for that loss, but honestly, that's a respectable loss in my opinion. Song Yadong, very strong. Very strong. He moves really well on his feet. He should probably be the more technical striker here. He does get taken down. He scrambles back to his feet, but he does get taken down. Jacob, you referenced the Barberena Witt fight earlier. I think this is a little more like that Barberena Witt fight, with Song Yadong being Barberena, gets taken down, but is able to stand back up. He is stupid young. He's only 23 years old. Again, he's fast. He hits hard. He's athletic, but he is also hittable. Kenney does not stop coming forward. He has really solid leg kicks, constantly moving forward. He had the tough loss to Dominic Cruz, but it's Dominic freaking Cruz. We're not comparing Dominic Cruz to Song Yadong. That's insane. Kenney, he has good head movement, good hand movement. I see Kenney pressuring forward, using those kicks, frustrating Song, getting takedowns, and winning this with a wrestling match. I have Kenney in my DraftKings lineup. I have a money line bet on Kenney, and I kind of like the more here. I'm all about Kenney in this fight. I think Song Yadong, even though he outstruck Kyler Phillips in that loss, I think this is a very different matchup, and I think Kenney is a little too much for the 23-year-old. Jacob, people always roast you in the comments for your stupid faces and eye rolls. Why don't you cut it out and let us know your pick?
Well, don't say stupid stuff, and I want to make faces. Listen, Song Yadong obviously lost the Lock of the Week. Kyler Phillips, one of the greatest fighters of all time. But one of the reasons he lost that fight was because of Kyler Phillips' fluidity and his movement and the way he was in and out on the strikes. Because Song Yadong is a very precise striker. He's right down the pipe with the striking. I think he's the better striker in this matchup. But he struggled with that movement. And it's kind of funny because Kenney in that matchup with Dominic Cruz, obviously he kind of struggled with Dominic Cruz's movement. So in my notes here, I kind of have it to where Kenney kind of needs to fight like Dominic Cruz in this matchup if he wants to win. Obviously, he's got the grappling that he can go to, but Kyler Phillips got the takedowns you mentioned, but Song Yadong right back to his feet. And that was the only reason he really lost that fight, was because of the takedowns. I think he shores that up. Obviously, it wasn't a long time ago. It was just a few months ago, but I think he realized I can outstrike anyone as long as I don't get taken down. I can win any fight. So I think he comes in really heavy on guard against takedowns, and I think he is a better striker in this matchup. Kenney obviously is a judo, I think like a judo champion or judo black belt, whatever. So if there is weird exchanges, he's probably going to get the better of those and probably going to get something onto the ground. And honestly, with DraftKings, I think whoever you think wins this fight should be in your lineup, because I think there's value on both sides. I think it's a wild, striking exchanges. And if you think Kenney's going to win, I think you should put Kenney in your lineup. If you think Song Yadong should win, I think it should be in your lineup. I personally think Song Yadong is going to outstrike him, be able to keep this standing, and is a better striker. So he's in my lineup. I like the value at $8,000.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your point at the end there that whatever side you're on, they're both great value. Danny boy, you going Kenney or Yadong?
I like Kenney in this one. I think it's going to be a really close fight. Song Yadong's a very good striker. All the things Jacob just said. He gets up well with the takedowns. But I just think again, the odds are probably spot on here. I think it's going to be a back and forth close fight. But I give the edge to Kenney with just kind of the dog in him, the cardio, the wrestling for sure. Like, couple takedowns here, a couple extra punches here when you're tired at the end of a round, that could be what wins this fight. I just think he's going to pull it out. I think he's got more tools, and the cardio and the wrestling are the X factor. And his striking is not bad by any means. So I think Song Yadong's got to fight a perfect fight to win this fight, whereas Kenney can just let loose, pressure, fight his fight, and I think he'll win a close one, but it'll be very competitive.
And it's honestly crazy to think that Song Yadong's only 23 years old. It feels like this guy's been in here forever doing this, just outstrike. I mean, to me, it seems like he's a 30-year-old prime in his career. The dude's like just getting started, and he's so good already. It's crazy.
Yeah, but I agree with you on that point, but it's not like at 30, he might be way worn out, right? Like this could be his prime. You could start too early.
And he's at Team Alpha Male too, so that's a he's not
that
like
helps
just
his wrestling for sure.
What?
That should help his wrestling for sure.
Yeah,
like,
but then somebody I can never remember who it is. Somebody called Team Alpha Male Team Guillotine because like they always go for guillotines, which is I pray to God he doesn't try to just keep getting guillotined on Kenny's shots, because then you will lose a decision that way. So hopefully it's just more of the just scramble back to your feet or just stuff to take down.
Do you like the more on Monkey Knife Fight or less or what?
If you're asking me, I like more on this.
I do too. Danny?
92 throws me off a little bit.
It's high, but he's just so busy.
Yeah, it's going to be a bunch of scrambles, but yeah, I guess more is the play you got to go with.
Yeah, I like the more and Monkey Knife Fight. You almost triple your money with a win. And check any of our comment sections. People are just moving to Monkey Knife Fight in droves because judges don't matter. Nothing matters. It's you versus the line. WeWantPicks.com/MKF. Next up at UFC 265, we have the rematch of the century. I mean, this is it, guys. The greatest rematch we will see this year. We have Tecia Torres versus Angela Hill. Tecia Torres, 3-2 in her last 5, coming off 2 wins in a row. 2-3 in her last 5, coming off 2 wins in a row. Angela Hill, 3-2 in her last 5. And those 2 losses were split decisions, and I'm positive people are going to hit our comments and say those were split decisions. She should have won them. Angela Hill should be 100-0. Tecia Torres won their first outing. It is a rematch. Tecia Torres is good everywhere. She has fantastic boxing. She stays in people's faces. She's a good grappler. She's got good wrestling. I don't see this fight going much differently than the first one did, honestly. She's stupid fast. She closes the distance well, and she works in takedowns. Angela Hill is good on her feet, and she's actually getting better. Every fight she comes out, she's becoming more of a striker, more of a refined striker, if you will. She's very busy. She does not have much power. She's very active, though. Angela needs to be on the outside and constantly moving to win this fight. Literally, just circling, touching, and circling is the only way she wins this fight, in my opinion. And I think that's going to be tough for her to do against Tecia Torres. Tecia is short, a tank, and will just come in and get those takedowns, get to the legs, touch her up top, hit her in the body, get herself a takedown. I love Tecia Torres in this fight. If you watched my live stream on Sunday, this past Sunday, I was betting on Tecia Torres money line while I was talking about it because I just absolutely love her in this fight. And I got her at a little bit better odds. The line's moving in her favor. But Tecia Torres is absolutely my pick. The 124.5 strikes is a hard line. We'll talk about that in a second. But Danny boy, she was American Top Team. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is going to be another one that's close. I'm just looking at the line now. Yeah, Angela Hill moved from -105 to +115. And I think Torres went the other way. I think this is going to be a back and forth, a lot of striking. I don't think it's going to – their first fight, Torres, I believe was training here at the time, and used a lot of wrestling, got takedowns. I think that's what won her the fight. I think since then, Angela Hill has improved as a fighter everywhere. She's worked on takedown defense. It's gotten a little bit better. It's not going to be like the same fight. But I would also say that Tecia Torres has improved a lot too. She's looked – very impressive, and she really only loses to champion level fighters. So I think this is going to be a close fight. Honestly, I flip-flop back and forth like 3 times on who's going to win this fight. I've talked to a couple of people down at the gym, and that they got one opinion. Then I'm like, oh yeah, maybe you're right. And then I watch some tape and I go the other way. So right now I'm thinking. From a value standpoint, I like Angela Hill on DraftKings 7,500 and plus 110. If that gets to like a plus 130, I might bet on her as well, because I think it's going to be a close fight, and I think Angela Hill has gotten a lot better since their first fight. So, and Tecia's no longer at American Top Team too. So,
yeah, she moved. Like there was no falling out, right? She literally just moved. Yeah.
I think she moved out. I think she's in like Colorado training at altitude with Raquel Pennington, I believe.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it's a rematch. I think it goes similar to the first fight. And Angela Hill has gotten a lot better. I think she was a 500 fighter at one point. So she has gotten better. She's pulled away from that. People will always, those were split decision losses. She looked good. She should have won the Gajea fight. I hear all that. I actually agree with that. But Tecia Torres is like always the bridesmaid, never the bride. She was like right there, could be contending for a title at any moment. And I think as soon as she gets the little bit of a step down, she absolutely dominates. And I think this is a little bit of a step down. And I think I think this is a pretty straightforward win for her. Jakey, what are your thoughts?
If she wants to be a bride, I'm looking at her Instagram now. I would be up for that. Honestly,
she's fishing in a different pond, Jacob.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Jacob searching mail order bride.
Listen, I think I picked against Tecia in the last 2 fights, and every time Angelo told me do not pick against Tecia Torres. There's no bigger Tecia Torres fan in the world than Angelo. I don't know why, but just the tiny tornado, her volume is insane. I will never ever pick against Tecia Torres again. I like her in this matchup. I don't like her enough to put her in my lineup because I think this is a tougher fight than people expect. Angela Hill is tough. I think there's going to be a lot of Tecia, getting her up against the fence and trying to shoot for takedowns and then stepping off and throwing her wild, 8-9 punch combo, bop, 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 and then shooting back in. And there's a lot of that, and it's a lot of grinding. So I don't think there's going to be a ton of points. Obviously, she's got the volume to get a ton of points, but I think it's going to be a little bit tougher than last time and what people expect. But I think Tecia should definitely win this fight.
Well, and very quickly, if you remember, if you go all the way back, if you've been watching us since the beginning, which honestly, the beginning was 6 months ago.
Don't watch the beginning.
But if you've been watching since then, one of my recap videos after the Angela Hill, Ashley Yoder fight, I literally was like, I picked Angela Hill to win. Angela Hill won. Angela Hill looked like trash in that fight against Ashley Yoder. She did not look good in that fight. And I was like, I don't care who Angela Hill fights next. I'm not picking her. And look,
I think I may have changed my pick mid for the 4th time now. I'm just Jacob just did that about Tecia Torres. I'm like, yeah, she is really fast and in and out.
That volume is unreal. Like Angelo, I specifically remember Angelo telling me, like, dude, you don't understand. You don't understand. And then watching the fight, and she's just running at girls. It's like, holy shit.
And once she gets going too and gets in a rhythm, it's like it doesn't turn down. Like she keeps it going full throttle. That poor girl a couple fights ago, like I think with a UFC debut,
didn't know what to do.
Tecia Torres just came at her like a freaking Tasmanian devil,
like a tornado, like a little tiny tornado.
Her nickname is perfect. So but again, Monkey Knife Fight nailed the line. 124 is a lot. That is a lot, and it's possible because Angela Hill is super tough. I don't think there's a stoppage. But Angela Hill is tough, and that's a lot of strikes, but it's certainly possible. So I don't know. What do you think, Danny?
On Monkey Knife?
Yeah, even that fight against that girl that had her UFC debut, she only landed 111. And then that fight before or after that, she only landed 52. Obviously, that was a stoppage. But
I'm gonna go. I hate splitting it, so I'm gonna go less here, only because I think there's a chance that Torres might still go for takedowns. They just might not be as easy, and there's going to be some time against the cage trying to get it, and that's going to pull away from the strike. So
Tecia Torres hasn't thrown more than 100 or hasn't landed at more than 124 strikes since 2017 versus Michelle Watterson, and that was 154. And that
Yeah,
was a 3-round fight. But
less, you're probably right. I think less probably is the play because either one of them may be looking to grapple. Angela Hill may also, she'll be bigger. She may look to just hold Tecia against the cage and just calm her the hell down for a minute or two and take some of those strikes away. So less is probably the play. I'm loving Tecia Torres. She is in my lineup. Watch the full DraftKings breakdown for that. WeWantPicks.com/MKF. Grab yourself a promo. Hit the Monkey Knife Fight line. WeWantPicks.com/bets. Hit Tecia Torres on the money line before that starts to go absolutely crazy because she will end up being a giant favorite by the end of this week. Next up at UFC 265, we have Vicente Luque versus Michael Chiesa. Vicente Luque, 20-7 overall, 4-1 in his last 5. And that only loss is to Wonder Boy. Michael Chiesa, 17-4, 4-0, 4-1 in his last 5, riding a 4-fight win streak. I talked about this in my live stream on Sunday as well. I will always in my mind think Michael Chiesa is not very good. And I have to get that out of my mind because he wasn't very good for a while.
At 155.
And just seems to have put it together and is doing well now. Yeah. And I need to remove myself from the Michael Chiesa 5 years ago that just literally was just not a good fighter because he has changed things and he has become a decent fighter. Vicente Luque is good everywhere. He has solid takedowns, and solid takedown defense. Even Woodley struggled to take him down. And Tyron Woodley, listen, he hadn't used his wrestling in a long time, but when he did use it, it was very good. He struggled to take Vicente Luque down. So he has solid takedown defense, and he has legit cardio. His power is there. His well-timed shots are there. Shots as in strikes, not takedowns. It's all there, and I understand why he's the favorite, but Michael Chiesa, he's pretty one-dimensional. His striking is not very good, but he has a ton of versatile takedowns. He'll look for lateral drops. He'll look for body locks. He'll actually shoot a takedown if he wants to. And they work well for him. His striking is not great, but they are there to set up the takedowns, and he will just be nonstop, looking for takedowns, looking to grapple. His cardio will not give up, and that is what makes this scary for me if I'm on the Vicente Luque side. This is a really tricky fight to pick. I mean, I honestly think this should be a pick 'em. Vicente Luque is the better MMA fighter. Vicente Luque has more ways to win, but Michael Chiesa is just relentless. I don't care. I don't care how stupid I look. I'm just going to come in here, try to take you down, and try to make something happen. That does worry me. Danny boy, what do you think?
I actually, first of all, I think Vicente Luque is very, very good. He was on the Ultimate Fighter against American Top Team when they did that show. So I watched all those live, and I remember thinking he's tough, he's good, But man, he's improved a ton since then, and he's in my mind that guy. But like you said, I have to accept now he is very, very good. But what I will say is that in terms of matchups and styles, I think this is a terrible matchup for him. He hasn't fought a wrestler of this caliber since, and we're not going to include Tyron Woodley, the latest version of Tyron Woodley in there, but who was the last wrestler he fought of this caliber? I mean, I'm looking through, not in a long time. So I don't know that he's seen this. I think he's probably obviously getting rounds in with his training camp. They've got good wrestlers there. They got a good wrestling coach. But Michael Chiesa is relentless. He's going to be on him. He's going to be looking to get on his back. He's going to be just Jester said it in the chat. It's going to be a wet blanket. And I think he's smart. He's not going to take punches against a guy who's willing to trade. I mean, Vicente Luque will take one to give one all day, but Michael Chiesa is not going to do that. I think he's going to get takedowns. He's going to win a decision. It might not be pretty, but I think he wins this fight. The one thing I will say is Luque does have good, I think, darces and kind of some chokes from weird positions, solid jiu-jitsu. So, but I don't think that'll be enough. I think Chiesa wins via decision.
So I have a bet on this fight already. I did Vicente Luque wins inside the distance, decision, no action, because I think Vicente Luque either catches Michael Chiesa and knocks him out, As Michael Chiesa's coming in for one of these, I don't want to call them sloppy takedowns because they're not sloppy, but he'll do anything to get it to the ground, anything. And I think he may get caught on the way in on one of them. So Vicente Luque wins inside the distance. But if he loses, I imagine Vicente is going to lose a decision, and then I'll get a refund on that bet. So I have that on Vicente already. I do like that quite a bit. Jacob, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, you mentioned the Woodley takedowns. I don't think Woodley was really trying to take him down. I think he was just trying to prove, like, look, I'm being aggressive. I'm on the guy. I'm shooting takedowns, but it didn't really look like he was actively looking for a takedown in the fight. So to say he stuffed Woodley's takedowns, I think he's going to have a rough time with Chiesa. Listen, I love Michael Chiesa. And you mentioned the difference in he was just killing himself to make lightweight. I mean, this dude's a pretty big welterweight. He was cutting himself and killing himself to make lightweight. He made the weight change. He's undefeated at the new weight class. He looks fantastic. You mentioned his grappling abilities. He's got to avoid or survive the early exchanges. There's going to be a couple early exchanges where Luque's going to hit him, and Chiesa's got to survive because Luque's a good striker. He's going to come in. He's going to hit Chiesa. He's got to survive that. I think if he's able to survive those early exchanges, he can use his grappling, his takedowns, and get it there. And just I like how Dan mentioned, the guy in the chat said wet blanket. He's got to make this fight boring and slow and methodical, even if it's just keeping Luque against it, even if he doesn't get the takedowns. Just keep him against the cage, keep him in your world, just keep working, keep going for legs. Eventually you'll probably get him down. That's what he has to do. And I'm going out on a limb here. I didn't trust it enough to put Michael Chiesa in my lineup. This is going to sound very weird and very contradictory. He's not in my lineup, but he's like the backup lock of the week, I guess. So he's not in my lineup, but I love Michael Chiesa in this matchup. I'm just very terrified because Luque, if he hits you, it's we saw with Willie with a lot of people, it's not going to be good. So, but I like Chiesa in this lineup, backup lock of the week.
I hate the monkey knife fight line. It's a hard line because Michael Chiesa could just smother him. Actually, you know what? Less is probably the number. Because Michael Chiesa either smothers him to a victory or Luque knocks him out.
Yeah, because Chiesa too is one of those gets you on the ground and immediately is transitioning to get your back, to get the body lock, to work for submissions, and he'll soften you up to get to positions. But he's not one of those guys that's trying to full mount and TKO you. He's not a nasty ground and pound type of guy. Yeah,
it's probably less. 56.5 though. I mean, if he's controlling the grappling, he will get past that. So less is probably the monkey knife fight play. I'm going to look at some more props. I like the over on rounds. I think this does go the distance. But I do love my wins inside the distance decision, no action on Luque because, Luque is going to knock him out or lose a decision. I think those are the two most likely outcomes as far as I'm concerned. Next up at UFC 265, we have Jose Aldo versus Pedro Munoz in the co-main event. Jose Aldo, 29-7 overall, all-time legend, right? Everybody watching this knows who Jose Aldo is. He is 2-3 in his last 5, coming off of a pretty solid win, honestly. He did pretty decent against Marlon Vera. Pedro Munoz, 19-5 overall, 3-2 in his last 5. Also coming off of a really nice win against Jimmy Rivera. That was a very, very fun fight. Jose Aldo, all-time great. Former champion. I can't say enough good things about him. I know back in the day when he fought Conor McGregor, I was like, Jose Aldo wins this fight. There's no way Jose Aldo loses. And then he got starched. And there were all these brand new Conor McGregor fans that just, Jose Aldo sucks. And it's like, no, go watch Jose Aldo fight. And some of them, unnamed on this show, I'm not going to say who, was like, he is good. I did watch some fights. Jose Aldo
that was a fun moment for both of us because that was when we first really started hanging out, and you started getting me into the UFC, and I'm like, I love this Conor McGregor guy. He seems like a lot of fun. You're like, listen, you don't understand how good Jose Aldo is. You don't get it. I understand Conor's good, but you don't get Jose is another level. He's going to dominate this fight. And I went to your house and watched that fight and just crack. I'm like, and you're like, Jesus Christ!
Like they fight 100 times, that happens once. Like,
Look what you created,
And
Angelo.
here we are. And here we are.
yeah. So Jose Aldo fight style, obviously he's an incredible striker, very good counter striker, very technical Muay Thai. He has legitimately good black belt in BJJ. He has good offensive and incredible defensive wrestling. He's an all-time great. His leg kicks back in the day were killer. Go watch him versus who's pretty California boy, Uriah Faber. I mean,
you can watch him against Peter Yan like last year. I think he knocked down Yan with a leg kick.
His leg kicks were savage. He hasn't used them as much as he did back in the day, but he has savage leg kicks. He's a nightmare for almost anybody that he fights. What I will say, if you go to Tapology, it says he's 34 years old. He's not 34 years old. He's 40-something years old. I'm not going to get into the details, but he's 40-something years old. He's not 34 years old. He has miles on him. He has been through wars, and he's starting to fade. We're starting to see it. He's still beating the people he's supposed to beat, but he's going to start to fade. He has started to fade, and he's going to start to lose to these up-and-comers. And I think Pedro Munoz might be one of those guys. They're very similar styles. Pedro Munoz is also a striker. He's nonstop with his leg kicks. He's using them more than Aldo is at this point in their career. He's using them a ton. He may come in and chop down the Aldo tree. He may say, I need to slow Aldo down, kick those legs, and do that. If he fights the same fight against Jose Aldo that he did against Jimmy Rivera, I think he absolutely wins. This is an incredibly close fight. I do like Pedro in this fight. I think Aldo's miles are a problem. And I think at this point in his career, I don't know if he has that same passion, that same dedication. I think he's fighting because he loves to do it. Where Pedro Munoz, this is his opportunity. I think he absolutely takes it. And I have Pedro Munoz winning I'm assuming a close decision. I don't know if he'll put Aldo away, but I think he chops out those leg kicks and gets it done. Danny boy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you just said. I think, definitely the 34 years old part. I don't know if he's over 40 though. I don't know how you know that, but at any rate, yeah, I think it's gonna be a good fight. I think this is where we might start to see Aldo fade just a little bit. And in this division, guys are so good, that's all it takes, just a step behind. I see this being competitive, but I think Pedro Munoz will win a decision. I think he'll land the better shots, the cleaner shots. I think he's got more power in his hands. As much as I like both these guys, obviously I'm always going to take the ATT guy, but I really think Pedro Munoz has the style. He's younger. I think he's going to be a little fresher. And this also, too, Jose Aldo, this part of his career, he always has a pretty tough weight cut. At some point, that's going to affect him. So I don't know if he's 40, but if he's not 34, let's say he's 36.
No, there shouldn't be any issue because this is a welterweight fight, apparently, according to the graphic.
Oh, right.
Keep it moving.
Should be good to go.
Oh my, that changes everything. Jose Aldo, a welterweight.
Yeah.
Wow, Angelo, you should have told us that earlier.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys.
Jacob spends the first into every graphic while we're talking. He's just searching.
You already missed
any error. Earlier. I saw that one too. I'm not even trying to look for it. Taika Torres, that one, or did you miss that one?
No, there was another one.
All right, listen, guys.
Angelo, you're a disaster, Angelo.
This is a tough week for me and my family. Okay, so a little bit.
Oh my, really? He's pulling that card.
I pulled it. I pulled it.
Along.
There it is.
He gave you so much crap every time you messed any graphic.
Jacob had literally one job. I have 10 jobs now. I do all of it. Anyway, you're done. The odds have moved.
No, that doesn't work like that, pal. I'll finish up my breakdown, and that might even take a little bit longer just because that was obnoxious. Yeah, I like Munoz. I think he's gonna. I would actually be cool. It would be cool if they just both came out and just started going leg kick for leg kick against each other for like a solid round and a half. But I think this is going to be like a changing of the guard fight where Munoz wins. I I don't want to say too close of a decision, but I think he's going to win a competitive, but win a decision. And I think he's going to get in Jose Aldo's face. I don't think he's going to let anybody have a pace or get a rhythm. I think he's going to go forward, pressure Aldo, and put a pace on him.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned I like Pedro here too. What I'll mention very quickly before I go to you, Jacob, is the line has moved quite a bit. So today's Tuesday. I did these graphics on Sunday because I'm very prepared. And on Sunday, Aldo was a minus 140 favorite. Now it is a pick'em. Aldo is minus 110. Pedro Munoz is also minus 110. This is a pick'em. It's an even fight. So money came in on Pedro Munoz as the underdog. Jakey boy, you going with the all-time great or the surging up-and-comer?
I have never seen so much disrespect to Jose Aldo in my entire life. The guy has lost to all champs, basically. Conor McGregor, champ. Max Holloway, twice champ. Volkanovski, champ. Peter Yan, champ. And then Marlon Moraes, who was almost a champ. It's crazy. And you mentioned the weight cut down.
He beat Marlon Moraes. Like, that was a bad decision.
Right.
And even the UFC was like, that was a trash decision.
Right.
We're going to treat it like a win. You get the title fight.
Right. So, I mean, you talk about he's looking bad. I mean, I
didn't think he was looking bad. I said he's going to start to fade.
Yeah, well, it's crazy talk. He's only 34 years old. And I'm glad you mentioned the weight cut, Dan, because he was the featherweight champion. He started making the trek down to bantamweight, which is another 10 pounds. And actually on the embedded this week, he says that he cuts less weight now than he did when he was cutting weight for featherweight. So he completely changed his body. He definitely looks you're used to seeing him as featherweight because he was kind of a big featherweight. He's not a tall guy, but he's a big, thick featherweight. And he really did change his entire body. He looks different. Even at the last time you saw, or I think the first time you saw him cut down to 135, you're kind of worried because he was having those rough cuts at 145. And then you see him, you're like, oh, he doesn't look too bad. And he came out and looked great. So the weight cut, I don't think is going to be an issue. I think he feels great. I think he looks great. You know, Pedro is good, but I just don't think he's as good as Aldo. And I think I'm glad you mentioned that leg kicks, Angelo. I think he comes out and just whips bang, 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 3 leg kicks in a row, really sets the tone for the fight, the rest of the fight, and then uses his precision and his striking to I think, dominate this fight, honestly. I think he's on a different level than Pedro. I think he still has it. I think he still can compete for a title, whether it's at welterweight or at bantamweight. So I have Aldo in my lineup, and I like him in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, my heart will be with Aldo for sure. I love that dude. Awesome fighter, ton of fun, all-time great. I loved watching his career. I just, all of these careers come to an end, and I think he's on the
I just don't know what you guys have seen to see that he's slowing down. He's been losing decision versus champions and beating everyone else.
That's a fair point, Jacob. He's looked good in a lot of these fights, but I think it's one of those things where I hate to say it's bound to happen, but Munoz has looked good too. Like even the best. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think this is a close fight at any point throughout their career. I just think at some point he's got a lot of fights, whether it's age or just miles, right? Like at some point it's going to play a factor. And Munoz is like
got an incredible pace, also nasty leg kicks. Like Jose's gonna be trying to keep up.
I'm not confident that will happen. That's just what I think. I mean, this is not like a Munoz landslide, but I just think he's gonna have the edge. The younger, hungrier up and comer wanting to get back to that, the top of the division spot. So.
Yep.
He got I don't want to say gifted, but he caught Garbrandt's way down, caught him. He lost to Aljamain Sterling, lost to Frankie Edgar, and then just happens to beat Jimmy Rivera. So
there's a split decision of Frankie Edgar. Okay.
I know, but still, it's not like he's running through people on this wild streak, and then he's running in a gatekeeping match versus Aldo. It's just he's just kind of doing his thing, and Aldo's doing his thing, and Aldo's Aldo, man.
And so we're live right now. Somebody said he's not younger. Pedro Munoz is younger. Do not listen to Tapology. Jose Aldo is not 34 years old. Let's move on to the main event.
Allegedly.
And by the way, if they are right, and whatever, it doesn't matter. He's younger in fight years, that's for sure. It feels like.
Yes. Yes. And actually, quick before we move on, the monkey knife fight line. I like more or less 94.5 is a lot. I don't. If he hits Jose Aldo 94.5 times, it's going to look like the Peter Yan fight. I don't think he. I think 94.5 is a lot. What do you think, Jacob?
I probably play more and more.
More and more. All right, busy fight.
They're just little guys.
That is true. Well, they're welterweights.
More and more is a lot. I don't know. More or less.
I agree, more or less. Next up at UFC 265, we have the main event. The interim heavyweight title is on the line. Derrick Lewis versus Ciryl Gane. Derrick Lewis 25-7, riding a wild 4-fight win streak. Wild 4-fight win streak. His last win was that incredible knockout of Curtis Blades. Ciryl Gane 9-0, obviously riding a nice 9-fight win streak. Ciryl Gane, I'm pretty sure I've picked against him his last 2 fights, and I was wrong both times. He has incredible footwork. He just bounces around like a middleweight. He does have power, but we really don't see the power too much because he focuses on the technical striking. He focuses on the volume. He focuses on his footwork and sort of avoiding disaster. He's very well-rounded. He mixes in takedowns as well when he needs to. And in this fight, I'm very curious to see what happens, but I think he is aware enough to know what the dangers are and might mix in quite a bit of grappling. Derrick Lewis, essentially insane power. That's the breakdown. Derrick Lewis has insane power. He is never out of a fight. He just comes forward, plots forward, big bomb, plots forward, big bomb, or backs up, back against the cage, big bomb. I mean, his power is absolutely incredible, and he's never out of a fight, ever. We saw it with Volkov, just gotten crap beat out of him, and then what was it, 15 seconds left, something stupid like that, stands up, bang, knockout. There's hilarious videos floating around of Derrick Lewis literally just standing up from crazy positions. Solid wrestlers on top of him, he stands up. In a submission, just stands up like it's no big deal. Derrick Lewis absolutely can win this fight by knockout, but I have Ciryl Gane winning. I think it's going to be the same dancing around decision heavyweight fight that we have seen from him in his last few fights. Avoid the power, dance around, touch, dance, touch. He might mix in quite a bit of wrestling because of the Lewis power, and he doesn't want to be hanging out there. So I'm finally going the other way. I picked wrong twice on Ciryl Gane. I am now on him. There's only so many times you can prove me wrong before I just accept it. So I think if he fights the same fight he fought his last 2, I think he just beats Derrick Lewis up pretty good, wins that. I have him in my lineup. But I do have a bet on Derrick Lewis. I bet Derrick Lewis, my favorite bet, inside the distance, decision, no action, because I think Gane will win a decision. Derrick Lewis might get a knockout at any moment. So if Derrick loses, it's likely a decision. He is very, very tough. So that's my bet. That's my pick. Danny boy, what are your thoughts?
Plus 180 odds, right? I saw you guys texting about that. I'm not gonna lie, I jumped right on it too. Yeah, I think that's a great bet. Plus 180. All he's got to do is go to a decision. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those fights where it's like I keep saying I'm not sold on Gane, and then he keeps winning. But I think we know the way he's got to win this. We've just seen it a few times in a row. He's got to jab, stay on the outside, use his footwork. I think you're right. I think he will put it in some more takedowns just because of the Lewis power threat. I think those might be successful. Lewis does stand up well. You referenced that video of
stands up.
Like, yeah, it's like there is no technique. It's just like, yeah, I'm going to stand up now. So, I think you got to go with Gane, obviously, from a betting odds standpoint. Man, I think it's I don't know. There's some prop bets worth it. So I don't know. I wouldn't touch this one betting unless I was throwing a Hail Mary on Lewis by knockout, or that. Actually, I like the bet we made, the Lewis by finish, fight goes to decision, you get your money back. So DraftKings wise, I guess I got to take Gane. I mean,
because you assume it's a 5-round fight,
right?
So, yeah.
Yep.
More on Monkey.
I
Knife
want
fight.
Lewis to win though, for the record. Like if Derrick Lewis wins, I'd be thrilled. He is fun. He's good for the division. He's exciting, and Gane has been a little tough the last few fights.
100% agree. And that Monkey Knife fight line, I like it. It's low. Obviously, they're expecting a knockout or a finish on either side. I like the more on that line. I really, really like the more on that line. Jacob, I haven't heard a song and dance out of you this card. Why don't you give us your breakdown?
Nobody loves Gane more than me. I think you guys were picking against Gane, or at least Angelo's picking against Gane. I love Gane and his skill set and his abilities. I think eventually he will be the champion. He's got all the tools. It's very rare for someone to come up undefeated with no road bumps, become the champion. You see that not very often at all. I think he's still got a little bit of ways to go before he gets there. And for that reason, I think that Derrick Lewis wins this fight because Gane has to fight perfect for 25 straight minutes. Because you mentioned the Volkov fight. There was, I think, 11 seconds left, and he finally got the knockout. And Gane kind of fights that same way as Volkov, but he gets hit. He's got great foot movement in and out with, side to side, but his head movement is not great. If you watch fights, and even in his last couple fights, he will get hit. And if you get hit versus Derrick Lewis, you're going to get knocked out. I think there's going to be probably 3 exchanges. And if he can survive those 3 exchanges, because I think this is going to be a boring fight. It's going to be a boring fight until it's not, obviously, if Derrick Lewis gets a knockout. But there's going to be about 3 exchanges. If he can survive those 3, I think he can win. But I just don't, with Derrick Lewis's power. I mean, even saw Francis in that fight against Francis Ngannou didn't even want to exchange with Derrick Lewis because that's how crazy that people respect Derrick Lewis's power. The thing that does worry me a little bit was in the embedded, Derrick Lewis's strength and conditioning coach. She mentioned, she made a comment about last fight. We were worried about the takedowns with blades, so we were working on sprawling and stuff. She said this time it's a stand-up fight, so we can do some other stuff with cardio. It's like, well, you better be careful with that because Gane can grapple and he can get those takedowns. So, and it's also so funny watching his Derrick Lewis. They were going through his last day of cardio, or whatever, on the embedded, and it's like him just like jogging up and down the sidewalk. He's mentioned before he hates running, he hates cardio. He's like, man, I don't want to do that stuff. And it's pretty obvious. So he says he's got the gas tank to go 5 rounds to end it if it's in the 5th round. So we'll see what happens. But Derrick Lewis, I mean, I can't go anywhere except for making him my lock of the week. I will live and die on Derrick Lewis. I don't care. I love that man. I love Gane as well. I just don't think he's quite ready. I think he gets caught eventually. He can't fight perfect for 25 minutes. And if he does, then he deserves to be the champion. It's actually kind of a shame because if he does, he has to do the exact same thing again against Ngannou. So that's going to be 25 plus 50 straight minutes of just perfect fighting. And we'll see if he does it. If he does, more power to him, and he deserves to be champ. But
I mean,
I think Derrick Lewis.
I think he did just do 50 straight minutes of perfect fighting.
Well,
against his last 2 fights, that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, but Rosenstruck's a little bit different than Derrick Lewis.
But I mean, but I'm saying it's that fight.
But he didn't. That's what I'm saying is those fights he didn't fight perfect. He was getting hit against Rosenstruck and against Volkov. Volkov was hitting him. Volkov was fat.
I thought Volkov won the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, if Volkov was still skinny Volkov I think probably wins that fight. But that's fat Volkov. He wanted to put on like 20 pounds of muscle for everyone. Was slow, but he was hitting. If you watch that fight, he was hitting Gane. And if Lewis hits Gane the same way Volkov was hitting Gane, it's gonna be lights out.
I think Gane's going to wrestle a lot more than and by the way, Jacob, that whole Lewis doesn't do cardio thing is part of his gimmick. I mean, he's getting in shape. That's like,
I don't know. I saw him running and
yeah, right, for embedded. And then he went and did his actual workout, I'm sure.
Well, either way, you guys both also like the more. I mean, this Monkey Knife Fight line is saying that there's a stoppage. I think it's a decision.
I like more for sure.
Yeah. Jacob?
Ciryl Gane is somehow favored to win this fight by stoppage. I was looking at some of the betting lines. It's kind of strange. Like this is Unless I missed something, this is like minus something to be under.
People keep mentioning Gane's wrestling like he's just ungodly wrestler, just going to take him down. Gane is not a wrestler. He can wrestle. He's a kickboxer.
Okay, I agree.
He's athletic enough.
He's athletic enough to wrestle.
One training camp of wrestling and probably take down Derrick.
And obviously, it's all a little bit different because Lewis was expecting Curtis Blades to wrestle, so he was ready with those uppercut shots. But if you start wrestling Derrick Lewis, he's not dumb. He'll have those shots waiting for you. And the one thing that is with Derrick Lewis is he's an athlete as well. He'll throw these flying knees and stuff as well. So if Gane, with not being a wrestler, starts to do wild takedowns, if he's starting getting a little weird and it gets a little sloppy, watch for a flying knee knockout Derrick Lewis. Second round.
My heart is with you. My wallet and brain.
I hope you're right. Yeah. I mean, I'm still going to find a way to bet on. We already did find a way to bet on Derrick Lewis, right?
Yeah. Did we all place that bet? I'd place that same one.
I did.
The distance.
Plus 180.
Yeah.
WeWantPicks.com/bets. The only place you're going to find those prop bets. Grab yourself a promo. The one we did on Derrick Lewis was wins inside the distance, decision, no action, which means if Derrick Lewis wins by a knockout, you get paid plus 180. You almost double your money. If he loses a decision, you get a refund. Here's your money back.
Are you surprised that he's that big a favorite? I was honestly surprised that he was that big. I figured he would be the favorite, but I thought it'd be more like 2-1.
Derrick Lewis literally only has one way to win. That's the problem. He only.
But that's how he's. I tell you. I mean, but it's worked so far.
That's it. It's literally only one way to win. That's it. He has
a pretty good way to win.
I agree, but as the fight goes on, the odds of that happening just get less and less and less. So
until there's 10 seconds left and he knocks his head off.
The Volkov one was ridiculous. That doesn't count. Either way, that is our breakdown.
It doesn't count. It happened.
It happened in real life.
It literally happened. What do you mean it doesn't count?
I don't know if that happened. Either way, that's our breakdown. WeWantPicks.com. Check out all of our promos, our matches. We literally have 10 different options for you to make some money, get free matches, get free money from us. Do it all. Join our DraftKings lineup. Sign up for everything. Thank you for watching, and we will see you on Saturday.